As I promised, I'm going to take you on the journey of dreams that I've been having over the last several years. I used to always just only have dreams about myself, and they have morphed into things maybe I'm supposed to pray about, revelation, intercessory prayer issues, and things that have been going on in the end times. This one that I'd like to start with was pretty major because it really kicked it off. Kind of like a slap in the face kind of deal, like to get my attention. And it began as I was a college age student in some type of educational prep school. I had a uniform. We all had uniforms. And I was in a room with like one of the instructors who was much older, and several other students were in there, and we were discussing who was going to go and visit this other college. They were going to send a group of individuals from our school to go kind of sit and shadow and just observe basically at this other college. I ended up being one of the ones chosen. The next scene is we're on a bus and we're headed toward this other university. It was a very large one. And so when we began to enter the campus, there was very large buildings that were opulent and made of brick. We passed one particular building, and it was like a red brick building, but it had scaffolding, like metal piped scaffolding in front of it, as if they were doing some work on it, but there was no work being done, and it was all covered in spider webs. There were thick webs everywhere. It looked really creepy. The next scene, we make it to an older, everything here was older. Like this had been a university that had been there for years. And the interior of this other room that we went to had wood. Not like wood paneling like from the 1970s. It was kind of cheap. I'm talking about like nice wood that is on the walls, that kind of like a paneling idea, but a very nice, expensive type. Even though it seemed dated, you can tell it was very expensive. So there was a large room with lots of chairs set in rows for people to sit that were facing a loft area. The loft area had been filled in with a wall that made a room underneath, and then there were stairs that went up each side of the loft, so you could go up down to the end wall, walk up the little stairs, go across the loft area, and then walk down the other stairs. So when we got there, we were taken around the back side of the stairs, or the chairs that were out in rows, and then we were walked up to the left of the building. No, the right building, forgive me. The right of the building, we walked up the stairs, and I was walking up the stairs at the top, just outside of the walking area on the loft part. There's a kind of a balcony. There was a table, and it was full of, it was like a place setting, a dinner setting, like they had set it up for children to eat. There was plastic dishes and toy food and stuff that was set there for like children to eat, but this was a college, and it made no sense at the time why there would be a children's place setting there with toy food and toy dishes up at the top, just sitting there on a table. And then it was a short table. And so then we walked across, and I'm looking at that, noticing it. And then we walked down the stairs to the left of the building. And we are told to go find a chair. Well, we're all in uniforms, and everybody else is in plain clothes. And I'm kind of looking around, and at this point, I know in my heart, like in my mind in the dream, that the uniform stood for we were the Christians. And then the plainclothes people, they weren't. They were people who did not believe in Jesus as Lord. So I go find my seat, and I notice there's this other guy, and he's wanting me to sit by him, and I'm kind of like, I'm not comfortable with that. There was something about where like a coat with, it was sheep on it, like a Sherpa type coat that was there, and I didn't want to go sit by him. I went and sat in another section. But I began to notice as we were sitting there was like some background type music going, but it wasn't really music as much as it was drums. There was a beat, kind of like, that big drum that you would hear on a boat when all of the people are having a row, and the big guy's going boom, boom. It was kind of like that, but it was very subliminal. It was in the background, and there were subliminal messages that were being said out, and my ear like caught it, and I'm like, I don't like what that's saying. And there were other people scattered throughout the chairs that were sitting as if they were kind of in a prayerful mode, and were listening to what was being said, and it was making me very uncomfortable. Well, then I chose to go sit in a different area, and the subliminal messages are still going, and I start praying, and I'm praying in the spirit so that I am hearing myself say that instead of listening to this subliminal message. And like I said, we're just here to observe like what's going on, kind of getting an insider's view on what they're doing behind the scenes at this university that maybe they should not be doing. And so we're sitting in chairs, and they start bringing out relics, like from a hallway from the side. Here comes this person carrying like this little leather box that's shaped like a kidney, and it brings it out, and everyone was supposed to respond to this, almost respond in a worshipful way to this box. And I happened to be sitting on a chair that was on a main aisle, like a main walking aisle, and I'm sitting on the end, and I look at it and I'm like, no. I'm like, don't bring that near me. There was something about it I didn't like. And they continued to walk, and it was this woman with a kind of a somber look on her face, like she had something very meaningful, and she was carrying this leather box that was shaped like a kidney, and I don't know what was in it, but I didn't like it. And they continued to walk through the crowd. Then here comes another person with it was bones on a rope. There were bones on a rope, and they were carrying it. It almost looked like it was like a femur, and then the other bone that's like along with it, the little skinny one. And she carried it through, but they kind of got tangled up, and she had to kind of stop to the side and like untangle it and then continue to go. She had the same look on her face. She was walking the same way, and everybody was supposed to respond with this like worshipful reaction to it. And well, these subliminal messages are still going, and I'm still praying in the spirit, because I'm like, I do not like what's going on and what's being said, and I need to protect myself. And I'm saying Jesus to myself, Jesus, Jesus, and I'm praying in the Holy Spirit. And there's another girl at one point. This is in the same uniform as me. She seems a little bit younger, and she kind of begins to say a few things at me, and all of a sudden she she looks like me in the same outfits and all, but all of a sudden she turns on me. She like attacks me and bites me. Like, this is an imposter. This is someone like pretending to be one of us that has hidden itself in our group. And she attacks me. Well, that makes me snap. And I instantly grab her face and I climb on top of her. I'm like sitting on her, and I grab her face and I tell her to look at me, to look me in the eye. And I begin to speak to her and tell that thing to come out, to shut up. And the dream quits. But the very next scene I see is a black screen, as if I am looking at a painting, like a black painting, and the black painting has a collar. You remember on those Renaissance photos where they would have those huge fancy collars that looked almost like a big fat doily around their neck? Well, that is what was in the view. There was only that in the middle of the scene. Black screen and a collar that stayed right there in the middle, and it was gone. It was done.